Hello everybody and welcome to the highlights of the Formula Sim Racing Round 7 at Hockenheim from myself, Dave Paling, in the Origin PRO Racing F1 car. Now we're in qualifying here, I've already done a few laps, put a time in, but we're going to go and get ready for my fastest lap of the session. I wasn't overly pleased with it, but it was the best I could do on the day. And as you can hear, it's quite busy out there on track, which means as I leave the pits, I have to take it nice and slow to allow these guys to come past me so that I'm not impeding them in any way, shape or form, as it got very, very busy around the Hockenheim circuit. As you can see, I really am having to wait and wait. And I'm almost having to come to a standstill with the driver there. Thankfully, not completing a lap, it just finished one, so now I can focus on trying to get my own tyres up to temperature, my brakes up to temperature. But the car behind me is approaching on a hot lap, so again I'm going to have to move out of the way in a moment. But I would quickly like to apologise for anyone who's been waiting for my highlights videos. I've been very, very busy lately creating videos for PRO Racing, the likes of the PRO Racing Season 6 Awards video, and also advertisements for spaces in the PRO Racing World Championship Reserve. So apologies, there is the Hockenheim Ring Round 7 and also Turkey Round 8 that I need to get produced as well. But this one is all about Hockenheim, and to be honest, it's been so long since I did this race, there's a very good chance I have totally forgotten everything that happened in it. But as we make our way through the stadium section, we're going to get ready for the qualifying lap. As I said, I know it wasn't the best that I could do, but that's what qualifying is about. You give it your best, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But here we go then, heading down into turn 1 at Hockenheim. Taking turn 1 in 5th gear, running a little bit wide, not as much grip on the front end as I would have liked, not enough temperature in the tyres. Hard on the brakes now into turn 2, took it into the apex, careful of the bumps, the rear wants to step out here. Get ready to open the DRS to take the car up to the fastest part of the circuit into turn 6, the hairpin, where we want to be hard on the brakes, hope that the car's stable, and then pull it into the apex of the hairpin. Aggressive on the power, control the oversteer, and get ready for the kink of turn 7. Flat out here, but with a bit of dirty air from a car ahead in the race, could be a tricky corner. The Mercedes-Benz stand on our right as we go through the tricky left-right chicane. Avoid the curb on the left, otherwise you'll see the wall on the right. And now into the stadium section, 5th gear, control it through, and now get ready for the camber, helping you here. Careful on the exit, aggressive on the power, but don't lose the rear. And now into the corners that will destroy the tyres in the race, the double right-hander. Pushing the car around hard, and we're going to cross the line with a 1 at 17.8, which gave me 11th place. But I was promoted to 10th as another driver ahead of me had a grid drop penalty, which promoted me to 10th place. So as I now prepare for the start of the race, 51 laps around this circuit with the soft and medium tyres available. I'm going to form up on the grid for the formation lap. And as I said, starting in 10th place, which I don't mind taking a free move up the grid. However, it did mean me starting on the dirty side of the grid, and that makes a massive, massive difference. Now I did practice starts on both the clean and dirty side of the grid. It's always advisable to do that, so you've got experience of the difference of grip levels, but you can never know exactly what cars around you are going to do at the start. That's something you can't factor in when you're doing your test starts. But we'll try and get some temperature into the tyres and into the brakes. We saw what happened on my qualifying lap when I didn't have enough temperature in the tyres. Turn 1 should have been a comfortable 6th gear corner in qualifying, but with the temperature not there, the grip wasn't there, had to go down an extra gear and still ran wide. But as we get ready for the start of this race, I was kind of confident around here I had fairly decent race pace in my practice sessions, although there were some areas of this circuit that were very, very difficult. Turn 1 comes with its own risks. Run too wide, you're spinning the car. Take too much apex curb, you're also spinning the car. And if you spin, you're probably going to cause damage. Turn 2, the exit of turn 2, so easy to lose the rear of the car. And then the heavy braking into turn 6, again, so easy to lose the car. The tricky off-camber and on-camber sections also, they make it very difficult to overtake around here, and tyre wear is a huge factor around this track. But as we get ready for lining up and the start of the race, we're going to be stationary for quite some time, and the longer we're stationary, the more the temperatures come down. So we're wanting to get this race going as soon as possible. Now, I did say on my last video I was going to try and do something to help you guys know what position I'm in, what lap I'm on. So every now and again you'll see this data around the screen appear, and we're still waiting for the lights to come on. And when they do, I'll activate the launch control, which is mandatory in the FSR Pro. Now, as we're still waiting, the temperatures are falling, but here are the lights, and the revs rise only a bit until the lights go out, and away we go. No wheel spin. It's a good start here by myself. Cars ahead are going a little quicker, and plenty of smoke. Oh, and that noise, that's the sound of carnage. Cars behind and 3 cars ahead going off. We'll have a look at what happened there in a moment. We're heading into turn 2. I've already gained 3 positions. I'm happy with that one. But like I said, the sound of absolute carnage behind me, and that can only mean one thing. There's a few cars out of this race. So let's take a look at what happened there. So I'm actually on board with my teammate here, Ryan Winsper. He was one of the drivers caught up in this incident that happens here, and I've got to say, it's absolute carnage, mainly behind me. So I was quite lucky. Cars moving all over the place, and then wow, and it's not finished. It's carrying on. Absolute annihilation all over the place there. So many cars involved, and one even ended up in the pit lane. But back on to the main action now, and heading down into turn 6. A late move from the car behind me, a little lock of the rear brakes by myself, and he manages to sneak through. A little bit of a dive bomb there, but I guess I should have closed him off. Take a quick look at a replay there. He does come from quite a long way back, and a lot of tyre smoke with it. And he was there when I turned in, so that's a position lost. And I know I was quite frustrated about that particular move. But at this point of the race, I'm just thinking, okay, let's not use too much boost. Let's look after the tyres, because as I mentioned, this track, it hurts the tyres. It is a tyre killer. I mean, average tyre temperatures on the front, you want to be working around about the 100 degrees mark. The final 2 corners can take it up to over 200. So as we're now in 8th place then, towards the end of the first lap, I can see the cars ahead of me bunching up a little bit. But I'm now thinking, okay, let's just settle down, see if we can catch back up without destroying the tyres. And every time I see a little puff of smoke come from their exhaust pipe of their tyres, I know I'll be happy. So heading into turn 1 then, and we're going massively wide there. Tried it in 6th gear, the car didn't like it. A little too far back for dirty air really, but big puffs of smoke coming from cars ahead, and that's what I like to see. Through the slow corner, I appeared to gain a bit of time there, but on the exit, perhaps a little bit too cautious. Getting a little bit of slipstream though, so looking like we're pretty quick in a straight line. And I'm not going to go for the dive bomb move, because it's only going to end up badly. So I wait, took it into the apex, and now my focus is on the car ahead. I think it was Lorenz Doherty. I could be wrong there. I think it was. We'll find out in a little while. So I'm now thinking, okay, let's see where I'm quicker, and by the Mercedes-Benz stand appears to be one of them. Yep, it was. But as we head now into the stadium section, tyre smoke from the car ahead. That's what I like to see. He went through the corner quicker than me, but it's going to cost him a little later on. 2 cars ahead of Lorenz here, getting very, very busy with each other. and he's gone very wide in the penultimate corner. And this is where I'm thinking, okay, look after the tyres through there. Turn 1 again. Now we are going to be dirty air affected. Take it down to 5th gear early, but dirty air still takes us wide. And I'm now knowing I'm going to have to keep an eye on that one on the next few laps. Now again, through turn 2, I appear to have closed the gap up a little bit. So at this point I'm now thinking maybe in the slower corners I'm a little bit quicker. We're having a view of the cars behind me. We've opened up a bit of a gap there, and now DRS active, giving half a chance to catch the car ahead a little bit quicker. He's now on the back of the Avid Chronic racing car ahead of him, and that could help me out. Now, I've mentioned that this track is a tyre killer, and it really is. So being patient and seeing all the smoke from other cars really did benefit me, I felt. Gave me the confidence to think it's okay, I can push hard later on. So towards the end of lap 2 then, into the stadium section, a beautiful part of the track here. Very difficult to overtake, very difficult to overtake through here, but it's still a fantastic, historic part of the racetrack really. So as we're about to start the 3rd lap of the race then, that gap seems to have opened up a little bit, but that's through those 2 final corners where I'm looking after the tyres, but the cars around me going a little more aggressive. Tyre wear is something I have struggled a lot with on FSR, to be honest. I seem to put a lot of temperature through the front tyres. It's something I've been working very hard on, and hopefully, well, I know at Turkey I struggled a little bit as well, but hopefully for Spa it'll be a bit better. But with DRS now available, car ahead of me going defensive, I don't mind that. I'll have a quick sneaky look at a switchback. Can't quite get the power down enough to go for an overtake. I mentioned in qualifying this corner with dirty air, it's tricky. Had to do a little bit of a lift, but I'm early on the brakes now, watching the car ahead of me lose it, going very deep. Look for a bit of a switchback, and no, I've caught the back of him, and that's the both of us unfortunately off the track. But now he's gone and drove it and parked in the middle of the road, and as you can tell, I've decided, yep, I won't go that way, but he's just caused an absolute devastating crash there for himself. He's out of the race. Oh, that's a big one. So look at the replay here, and yeah, I will admit, bit bad from myself. Look for a bit of a switchback. He was slower in the corner than I expected. We got hooked up, but yeah, no, I do know he did say he kind of hit the wrong, well, not the wrong pedal. He thought he'd got it in reverse, and he hadn't. But his race is over. I think another 2 cars races were over as well there, and they weren't overly too happy. I mean, nobody wants to come around a corner and see a car in the middle of the road. But that has now put me down to 18th place, up to 17th. There's one of the cars that was involved in that aftermath. So I'm now down to 17th place from 8th, and I'm not overly happy with myself at this point. So 4 laps in, a lot of positions lost, not going great. Only thing I can do now is check if there's damage on the car, which thankfully there wasn't any, and now try and push hard to get back into this race in any way, shape or form. I must admit, at this point of the race I'm thinking, okay, any kind of sort of top 10 finish is way out of reach. With no safety cars in FSR and things like that, it's so difficult to bring yourself back into the battle of the race. But at the same time, incidents, collisions can happen at any point, and all of a sudden you can find a car coming out of the pits next to you, someone that you can have a race with. So it's one of those situations where, okay, that's not gone too well, but got to get head down now. I had pace around Hockenheim, as I mentioned in the practice sessions, and in those opening few laps I felt I was gaining. I was quick enough to gain places. So now with a fairly clear track around me, that's what I'll try and do, but running a little bit wide in the penultimate corner, or the exit of the penultimate corner, as I'm perhaps pushing a little bit too hard, a little bit too frustrated. You can see the difference of turn 1 here with no car in front of me, no dirty air, comfortably through there in 5th gear quite quick. Cautious, as I mentioned earlier on, through turn 2. Don't want to lose the rear. This is a phase of the race where mental stability took an absolute bashing, and it's probably a good job there aren't any cars around me. Saves me from doing anything overly rash. But I can see cars ahead of me. I've got a timing screen when I'm racing as well, so I can tell that I am catching the cars ahead of me. I also had an idea of who was ahead of myself in the car I had a crash with. Oh, we've got a car off track there. That's a free place. Thank you very much. Feel bad for you that you've had a bit of a moment, but I'll take that position. Yeah, I knew who was 2 cars ahead of me before the crash, so they were my target on the timing screen of excuse me, working out just how much time I had lost. Now for the strategy around here, if I remember rightly, we're looking at around about a 2-stop, but it all depended on how much tyre wear came into effect. With the front end taking such a pounding, the strategy did change a few times. Now to see Benoit Daubert here, the car ahead of me, I think we may have just jumped a few laps as well. I will do that on occasion, and because it's been a while since I put the video together, it might catch me out, but Benoit Daubert is the car ahead of me, and you can see me in the background there as I'm trying to catch up. Now at this time of the race, as I mentioned, I'm pushing quite hard and I'm putting in fairly decent laps. The last lap, and I believe this lap, I'm gaining around about a second a lap on Benoit here, and that's one of the things with damaging the tyres. As soon as you have damaged them too much, you do lose a hell of a lot of time. Now there are some fantastic camera views on R Factor 2 on the FSR cars, although I won't play around with too many of them as we're into the stadium section. You can see that I am gaining a lot here as Benoit is about to start lap 10. And he puts in a 1:21.9, I think that may have been, and I've done a 1:20.9, so yeah, I'm catching at a second a lap at the moment. And a big part of that is having looked after my tyres in the early stages of the race. So having seen that gap come down that much, I'm feeling more confident we can push on a little bit harder. I can see as well that he's got a car he's battling with, so the more they fight, the more chance there is of me catching up as they make their way through the hairpin, and I do as well. I can see that I've gained quite a lot through the hairpin there, and that seems to have been a feature throughout the early stages of this race, that I seem to be quite quick in a straight line, but I'm also gaining time in plenty of the corners, and as I mentioned with the tyre wear, that's where a lot of that will come from. I mean, something else we've seen in FSR a lot this season is cars exploding, or at least their engines exploding, getting their engines too hot and having engine failures. And that's something that I have worked on to try and make sure it doesn't happen, and make sure the temperatures are within range. So if we do see smoke coming from cars, if it's tyre smoke, it's good news, and if it's from the exhaust pipe, it's even better news. I'm definitely catching up through the first few corners, turn 2, not far away from being able to get DRS here as well. So lap 11 of the race then, so 40 laps to go, and at this point tyres are not critical, but we're around about the point of potential doing a pit stop. Now I know that for myself in this situation on the day, I was thinking, okay, I'm catching these guys at a vast rate of knots. If I pit before them, then I'm going to be even quicker. I can potentially undercut all 4 cars that are ahead of me here with a decent pit stop. So I decide to pit on this lap, even though I could, with my tyre wear, gone a little bit longer, but you can see how much time I'm gaining here. But I'm thinking it's not going to be easy to overtake, so I'm going to go for the pits, go for the undercut. But so do 2 of the cars ahead of me. At this point I'm thinking, great, okay, should have stayed out. Oh no, you know what, it'll be alright. I was catching them anyway. I'll just overtake them in the next few laps. So as I made my way to my pit box, I realised that my pit box is also his pit box, which shouldn't happen, but this cost me an absolute enormous amount of time. I was right behind those 2 cars that have just left the pits, and now they're already making their way down to turn 2, and I come out the pits behind 2 other cars. So I'm going to come out in 16th place, when really I should have come out in 14th, prepared to battle the cars ahead. At this point now, I am absolutely livid. I am fuming. I'm shouting, I'm screaming, but there's no one to listen to me, so it's all wasted breath. But the frustration was very, very high at this point. That has just cost me an absolutely fantastic opportunity of gaining a load of places. But the 2 cars ahead of me, I don't think they have pitted yet. At least that's what's going through my mind, because I'm now on the harder tyre, the medium tyre. He's struggling to make apexes, so I'm thinking, yeah, they've not pitted yet. And I'm gaining a lot through the corners. He gets on the curb, has a wiggle. I'm now up the inside into the stadium, and thankfully he thought better of fighting that position. I was able to gain a place up into 15th. I think he'll be heading off into the pit lane. Car off the track, oh dear, oh dear. But I haven't gained a place, so it must have been a lap down. But I am now going to skip forward 1 more lap as I catch the car ahead. So we're quickly going to skip to the start of the next lap, lap 14. I spent that lap catching him up, so now the start of lap 14. Going into turn 1, he's had a big wiggle through there. I'm now dirty air affected as well, but I'm going to try and close the gap on him. Hard on the brakes down into turn 2. And we're in DRS range. We'll see if we can get the move done. A fairly good exit. Gaining on him. DRS now wide open. And he's gone defensive. But there's not much point fighting that one. I'm already ahead. So I'm now up to 14th place, and it's time to focus on the cars ahead of me. So I'm now going to skip on another lap onto lap 15. And it's Mihailo Vicencevic, apologies if I got that wrong, who is ahead of me. So I'm now beginning to close up the gap to the cars who pitted when I did. I lost a massive amount of time. It must have been a good 6-7 seconds. But Mihailo here, again, I've noticed that I'm gaining in the slower corners. I do think a big part of that could be that down to the setups potentially, or looking after the tyres just gave for faster ways around the corners for myself. But it is a good view from the back of the cars here. You can see where the gaps begin to come down. So on to lap 16 then of 51, running the medium tyres as I make my way round turn 2. And interestingly, Mihailo's having to lift around turn 3, and that's something that I wasn't having to do, so perhaps he's gone very low on the rear wing downforce. So as he makes his way into the hairpin, he's got cars ahead of him that he's trying to gain on and catch up to, but he can tell that I am catching up to him at the same time. Let's see how he gets on around the Mercedes-Benz curve, running a little bit wide and having to lift off a lot, and very patient, very cautious on the throttle there, which surprised me a little bit. But now as we make our way into the stadium section, you can really see that I've closed that gap up, and now I'm starting to think maybe he started on the prime tyre on these medium tyres, and that could be the reason for me being able to gain on him as much as I am doing at this moment in time. So as he crosses the line and puts in a 1:21.5, I think that is. So his pace actually isn't that bad on the prime tyre at the moment, but I am still closing that gap. See, the cars ahead look like they're getting quite busy, and that's David O'Reilly in the average Chronic Racing car. He's going to have a chance with DRS here as I try to get my camera sorted out. Jump back on board with him as he goes for the move. So that's David moving up to potentially 11th place if he can work it all the way around the outside of the hairpin. He's give plenty of room, gets a better exit, manages to make the move, and you can see in the background that I've managed to close up on Mihailo a little bit more now, so I'm available for potential DRS overtake on the next lap, unless I can get ahead of him before we start lap 18. But with gaining on him as much as I have done, it has made me start thinking about, okay, get close into turn 2, get DRS overtake down towards the hairpin. Otherwise, it could be very, very tricky to overtake. It can be quite easy when you've got the better tyres, a setup that works for you, to close a gap up. But actually making an overtake work is, or can be, much more difficult. So start to lap 18 then, much better line through turn 1. He's opened that gap up a little bit, so we'll go aggressive on the brakes, try and get that gap down to see if we're going to be able to use DRS. Good exit of the corner into the slipstream. DRS is open, so the opportunity, he goes defensive, very defensive, giving himself a very, very tight line. So I'll give him a bit of room around the apex of the corner, but he's giving me absolutely none on the exit, really. Cost me a little bit of time, that one. So, a bit cheeky, I'd say. Clearly running me off the road. Oh, and a massive use of the curbs there. I think it's fair to say he knows that I'm behind him and I'm prepared to try and overtake. As we go through the stadium section, dirty air, running wide. Try and look after the tyres though and not scrub them even in the dirty air. So this time around I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to have to do the move into the hairpin again, I want to be really, really close. He's just gone massively wide. Yeah, if I can be really, really close, then that'll give me a much better opportunity to be ahead into the hairpin. So starting at lap 19 then, currently in 14th place I think it is. Sorry, I can't see the information too well. Oh, through turn 2, and I've had a bit of a sympathy slide there. A bit frustrating that really, because he messed up the corner terribly and I just helped him out, but still in with a chance of making a move. So DRS open, he goes defensive again. This time though, I think I'm ahead a little bit more as the car gets out of the way for blue flags, and that does help me out in getting the move done. It gave Mihailo something a little bit extra to think about there, but now I'm ahead. I can use the extra pace that I had to try and catch up to the green monster that's ahead of me, which is Will Barnes. So that's who my next target is, and David O'Reilly, who passed him recently, just ahead of him. So the gap is only a few seconds between myself and Will, and we'll work on closing that gap up. And at the end of this particular lap, I am going to skip on a lap. So we're going to finish lap 19 and we're going to skip on to the start of lap 21. We'll see Will Barnes heading into turn 1 now. And we can still see him heading into turn 1 even though we skipped on a lap. But we've gained on him a little bit. But by 1 second a lap on that previous lap that I skipped. So I can see that the pace is still there. We can still gain on the cars ahead. There's still an opportunity to gain places in this race. So far I've managed to recover from 18th to 13th, and I can see that there's a few cars ahead of me. There's a chance of still scoring a few decent points. Points are scored down to 15th place in the FSR Pro. but I don't want to be 15th. I want to at least try and get into the top 10. You can see that I'm closing this gap in on Will Barnes quite quickly. As I mentioned, it was a second on the previous lap, and it looks like it's going to be about a similar amount of time on this particular lap. But I'm in a situation where every corner is giving me confidence, knowing that I can see that time is coming down. And through all of the slow corners, that does appear to be where I'm gaining the most. So for Will Barnes then, let's see, on this particular lap, I think it's a 1:22.049 that he does, yeah, and I do a 1 at 21.0, so it is about a second a lap that I'm gaining. I've just seen him run wide in turn 1 as well, so every time I'm seeing a car, a bit of smoke running wide, it's all adding to the confidence. I've already had a couple of attempts at overtaking down into the hairpin, and again I'm thinking, okay, that could be a good position to try and attack Will here. Perhaps not on this lap, a little bit too far behind. However, it's coming, it's getting close, it really is getting close. I've had a couple of battles with Will Barnes over the course of the season, although they've not really lasted long. It tends to be an overtake and either he's disappeared or I've disappeared. But one thing I noticed I've done is kind of given myself targets within the division, seeing who I see appear to be relevant on pace to, who I want to be beating, who I want to be catching. I find that works for me. That helps me know whether I'm improving or not, really. But through the final 2 corners here, gained a lot on Will. This is definitely going to give me a chance with DRS. But I've got to be careful of the dirty air. Slowing down a lot earlier, keeping it on the track this time. And he knows it. He's gone defensive, trying to stop me getting slipstream. Cautious through turn 2 here to try and get a good exit. Hard on the power now, and it's the second part of the exit of the corner there where I felt I gained the most. With DRS open, slipstream available, and he goes defensive to the inside. Tried this move a couple of times on other people. It's time for me and Will to give it a go. Plenty of room given by both of us there, and a better exit by myself. That gives me the chance to sneak ahead just before the kink of turn 7. So now I'm thinking, okay, got to be careful of him trying to attack back onto me. But with the rate I was able to catch him, I'm hoping to be able to break DRS on the next lap, so that he can't really attack me too much. But now I'm up to 12th place. I've got David O'Reilly ahead of me. And he is who I'm focusing on, although Will Barnes behind me still has my full attention, because it only takes one minor mistake and could be in the clutches of the cars around you. O'Reilly is a little further ahead than I can see at the moment, just heading around turn 2 now, so a good 3 or 4 seconds between us. So for this lap, you see O'Reilly, he's done a 1:21, or this lap will be a 1 at 21. And we saw earlier I was in the just creeped into the 120s, and that's me just behind David here. So that's the gap that I need to try and make up. And if I can still keep hitting the 120s, then I'll be happy with that. But it looks like this was a bit of a messy lap for myself, a 1 at 21.4. So I don't really gain too much on O'Reilly on this particular lap, but I'm pushing hard to catch him. He now knows it's me behind him, so he's pushing hard to make sure that I don't catch him. I mean, David O'Reilly, he's someone that I have battled a lot with this season, and got to know him or race with him quite a lot, and do commentary with him as well, actually, in FSR. He does like to talk a lot, just like myself. But end of lap 24, now up to 12th place as Will Barnes. He's pushing hard to try and keep up. His teammate Miles Wee-Way into the pits though, so that moves us up another position. So lap 25 then, now running in 11th place. And at this point I'm thinking, okay, there is a good chance of points here. We're going to have another pit stop to make soon. I mean, let's see, what was it, 11 laps we did on the option tyres. The prime tyres should do, well, they were quite good around here, survived quite well, so got a few laps until I think I pit. But if we go for the prime tyre again, we should be able to make it a 2-stop. O'Reilly's struggling a little bit with the left-right chicane by the Mercedes-Benz stand as he makes his way into the stadium section. Little puffs of smoke coming from those front tyres. That's what I like to say. Oh, we've got a car off. That's Ryan Winsper, I think. I think that might be my teammate. Oh no, Riley spins. I think that may have been a bit of a sympathy spin, and he's done exactly the right thing there. Stopped his car dead, allowing me the opportunity to know exactly where his car is going to be, which puts me up into 10th place now. And the car ahead of me here is my teammate Ryan, but unfortunately for him, he is a lap or two down, given that he was caught up in the collision early on. So Benoit Aubert, who we saw much earlier on, a lot earlier on in this race, just before the pit stops, I think he might have actually been the guy that was sat in my pit box. Okay, it was his pit box as well, but we had the same one. So that's the guy who pitted just ahead of me. So my next target is Benoit Aubert in 9th place, and obviously at this point I'm still trying to claw back a lot of the time that I lost during that particular pit stop. I can't quite yet see how far ahead Benoit is, but we will soon find out. I mean, obviously while I'm racing round I can see a timing gap, so I know how far ahead he is. And we are closing the gap at this point as my teammate realises that I am getting closer to him, and he is in a blue flag situation. Now for me, I don't mind being behind him here, because I'm thinking at this point, let's pit. So that's exactly what I do. So we've ran the medium tyres already, we've ran the soft tyres already, but we're going to go for another stint on the mediums. That'll take us all the way to the end of the race. Now we saw a couple of cars pit a lap or so ago, and so I've come into the pits in 11th place, I believe it was. We'll see where we come out. But we did see Miles Wee-Way, Will Barnes' teammate, pit a lap ago, and he is now just ahead of me on track. So as I return to the circuit in, I believe that says 13th place, so Miles Wee-Way is now the target ahead of me. And over the course of the next 2 laps, and there he is, Miles Wee-Way, there he is. Over the course of the next 2 laps, I close up on him by 1.5 seconds and then 1 second, but I am actually going to cut those laps out because it's just me driving around with no one near me. So I'm going to cut those 2 laps out. I'm going to skip forward to lap 30, where hopefully there'll be a little more going on. So here we go, start to lap 30 then. And let's see, we're back into 11th place. So other cars have done their pit stops around us. Car's just gone around turn 2, and that's still Miles Wee-Way, who I believe is ahead. But as I mentioned, we are closing the gap in on him. And the car behind me is David O'Reilly. He had his spin earlier on, and I don't think he's done his second pit stop yet. But I am still focused on the gap between myself and him as I am catching up to the car ahead. Now with the brand new medium tyres on, the car's feeling great. Plenty of grip in the car. I'm feeling confident that the grip is going to help me. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, strategy. 2-stop might not be on the cards. If we are going to have to make another pit stop, could we get into a position to be able to use the soft tyres again, the faster of the tyres? Quick look at David O'Reilly behind me there. Miles Wee-Way ahead. His lap time a 1:22. I believe that was my lap time a 1:20. So gaining a lot at the moment at the start of lap 31. So I can see that timing gap continuing to come down. Physically, I can see that I'm gaining on Miles ahead as he passes what I think may have been a back marker there. Now it's been quite a frustrating race for me, because it's one of those where, the car ahead of me going very, very wide, but also letting us past. And letting David past? Oh, he had no choice but to come back on the track there. But yeah, blue flag situation. Yeah, I was very frustrated in this race, because I'm thinking, okay, I've spent since lap 4 trying to catch back up to where I started, instead of what should have been, okay, I was in 8th place, could I have gone further forward? Because I'm much quicker at this, through each phase of the race, than the cars just behind me and just ahead of me. So towards the end of lap 31 then, let's see what lap time we put in here. It's another 1:20, so still potentially gaining at that rate of around about a second a lap. So as we're working out strategy as well, and realising, okay, we are going to have to make another pit stop. Might as well push these tyres hard without overcooking them. I mean, that's one of the things all the way through the race. Having to look after the tyres to make sure that you don't overuse them, because once these tyres hit the cliff, they really hit the cliff. They are absolutely gone. You'll lose a second and a half in a lap instantly. But we can see that the gap has come down quite a lot over the course of the last few laps. Nowhere near close enough to overtake yet. However, we are gaining. What I am going to do, I'm going to skip another couple of laps here as that gap comes down even more. So I'm going to skip now from the end of lap 32 up to, I believe, the start of lap 35. I say I believe because it's been a while since I've watched this. So yeah, on to the start of lap 35. Get ready. Here we go. Okay, so the gap has now come down to this. Miles Wee-Way, we're on board with him, looking back at the fantastic Origin Front Row Racing car with myself at the helm. You see, closing the gap into turn 2. Miles absolutely flat out through turn 3, as am I. Should be close enough for DRS, I think, at this point. Yeah, but not close enough to overtake, I don't think, but that gap is coming down. And I'm gaining a lot in the braking zone. I think he'd definitely be having a look in his mirrors at this point. I've managed to close that gap in over the course of the last 5-6 laps, and I'm now in position to try and overtake. Miles really working his gears there to try and maximise traction. Let's see how he gets on through the stadium section. He's definitely working those gears. Opens up a little bit of a gap on me there, but a little bit of a lock up. That'll cost him a little bit of time and a little bit of life on his tyres as I again close the gap on entry to the corner. Across the line we go to start lap 36. Definitely within DR range now. But he's had a good exit of turn 1. We've now gone on board with myself. We ran a little bit wide on the exit of turn 2. That compromises my exit of turn 3. And that's allowed him to escape a little bit there. I've got DRS, but he may have it as well from the back marker ahead. But I am gaining in towards the hairpin. I do not want to go locking it up at this point. You see his rear squirming a little bit on the exit of the corner. Always good to see. So a battle here then for 10th place effectively. Ooh, a big sideways from Miles there. So again, into the stadium section. He gained on me here on the last lap. I dropped it down an extra gear to look after the car under the dirty air. I mean, you don't physically feel the effect of dirty air, but you definitely see it. I mean, quite often you might see on a few guys' videos, you think, why are they going that slow behind someone? It's because they haven't got the grip. A good exit of the final corner, try and put him off a little bit to turn 1. Does it work? No, it doesn't. But I've had a good exit of turn 1 there. And DRS detection coming up any moment. Oh, I've lost the rear a little bit under braking. That could compromise. Oh, I've lost it a little more under the throttle. That's definitely compromised my exit of the corner. There's a little bit too over aggressive on the throttle there, thinking, okay, we've got a chance. But actually, I'm gaining on him so fast here. Could have a look at the inside. No, I don't bother. More focused on the exit of the corner. And I've had what looks like a fairly decent run, but now in a situation where it's very difficult to overtake unless he makes a mistake. He's nicely into the apex there. So now all I can do is pretty much follow him into the stadium section again. So let's see, lap 37. Still got a fair handful of laps to go. And this is proving what I mentioned earlier on about catching a car is one thing, but once you've caught them up, actually getting past is another. It's that extra 1 second a lap that I had. It's gone with the dirty air. So starting lap 38 then, I believe. And he's had another good exit at turn 1 there, open up the gap a little bit. I'm going to be a little more cautious through 2, I think, this time on the throttle. Yeah, definitely. But that gives me a good exit. I can get in the slipstream early, DRS open. This could be an attempt here. Miles knows it. He's gone defensive. Can't quite get side by side, but could look for the undercut or the switchback. Grip's just not quite there to go for it as Miles once again covers off the corner. Have a look up the inside, make him think about it, make him lock up. That could benefit me on the exit of the corner, but I compromised myself at the same time, so that benefited me in no way at all, other than perhaps a little bit of tyre wear. At the same time, I'm in a situation now where I'm thinking, okay, I've recovered enough that I'm happy with how my drive has been going so far. But if we can get another place or 2, we'll be absolutely ecstatic. I just need to get past this wee way because he's in the way. And to be fair, he's been defending well, and his car has been very quick in a straight line. So we've had 2 sort of semi-attempts. We've gone very deep on the brakes this time into turn 2, trying to gain on entry into the corner to get a good exit. We're much closer than I was the previous lap. This should be a much better opportunity. DRS wide open, slipstream. He hasn't gone defensive this time, so I'm going to have a look up the inside. A little bit squirrely under the brakes, but managed to make the move. So now Miles is behind me. He's had a good exit of the corner, and he's close enough to be a threat. So I have to cover him off and defend the corner. Oh, he's trying to go around the outside. Can't quite make it work. So as we get ready to go into the stadium section, I'm now thinking I've only got a few corners to open this gap up. So I really do need to get on with it. I need to pull away that second lap I had earlier on. It needs to come back right now to give me a good opportunity to pull away. But Miles is gone. He's gone. That helps. Unfortunately there, Miles. But thank you very much. I'll take that pressure off my shoulders. So up to 10th place for myself then, and the car ahead of me is now Juan Sanchez, whose tyres are looking a little bit worse for wear, if I'm honest. So Juan, my next target. Benoit Daubert just ahead of him. So a few seconds gap between 8th, 9th and 10th now. But Juan Sanchez, as I mentioned, is my next target. Now obviously at this point of the race I have no idea what state his tyres are in. I just know that I want to catch him and get past him if I can. But with 11 laps of the race to go and realising, okay, the tyres are not going to get to the end, we are going to have to make another pit stop fairly damn soon, I think. Yeah, I'll just check my notes actually. I do believe I do make a pit stop. And from what I remember, actually, yes, I do. But Benoit Daubert in the stadium section and Juan Sanchez just behind him. And you can see the gaps there. And the gap that I've pulled out on Miles, he's still pushing hard actually, though, to try and close the gap after his little spin. But we're on lap 40, 11 laps to go. And I do fear there will be another pit stop coming soon. These tyres will not make it to the end of the race. We'll just take a quick look at the top 10. David Cook leading the race, quite comfortably leading the race as well, to be honest. Here's the FSR Pro standings leader. In second place is Jordi Lopez, third Christopher Raby, fourth Felipe Giro, fifth George Winter, sixth DeWald Nell, seventh Dmitry Zarahov, and 8th Benoit Daubert, and 9th Juan Sanchez, and 10th is myself. So top 10 not overly spread out, but spread out enough that I still got some work to do here if I want to gain any more points. As happy as I might be with the recovery drive so far, there's still more to do. So with having pushed the car quite hard, pushed the tyres quite hard, I decide, you know what? Let's gamble it. It's time for a set of the soft tyres. So we're going to go for another pit stop at the end of this lap. And that'll give me 10 laps where I can absolutely hammer the tyres for the final 10 laps of the race. And at this point I'm thinking, please, that car better not be in my pit box, because I'm fairly sure that car was there on my last stop. No, it's actually Benoit Daubert, I think. Or that could be somebody else who was a lap down. Probably was actually. But Miles, he's actually pitted and joined me. But as I exit the pits here, oh my days, is it busy. But I tell you what, it's the leaders of the race. It's I think second, third and fourth that I have come out just behind here. But I'm now on a brand new set of option tyres. They're on medium tyres, which I think they're going to try and take to the end of the race. But that puts me in a situation where there's the potential of being a little quicker than them. However, it'd be an instant blue flag situation. So the car ahead of me here is Felipe Giro, who races for Origin FRO Racing in the red car. And straight away I can tell, okay, yeah, I'm beginning to catch him up here. And that is a bit of a problem, because I can see that he's got cars just ahead of him that he's effectively in a fight with. And even if I am in the faster car, it wouldn't be right to overtake him. Doesn't mean I won't get closer, but it's one of those situations. I mean, I was unfortunate with where I came out on track, because at this point I'm thinking, right, okay, when I pitted I'm thinking, right, we can absolutely bash this out now and maybe even gain an extra place or two. But Felipe's just had a big off at the first corner, which is hinting to me that his tyres are hurting. But now I'm in a situation where I've got DRS. And I could potentially go for the move, but I pull well out of his slipstream as though to say, look, don't worry about it, I'm not coming for you. But in the braking zone, I get closer. And I'm now thinking, okay, I'm just going to have to take it very, very easy here and back off a little bit. This is compromising my own race, but in a blue flag situation, that doesn't matter. I mean, the car that was ahead of me for position was a good 20 odd seconds. I'd have had to have pushed really hard, especially if they didn't make another pit stop, which I don't think they did actually. But I mean, this did compromise my opportunity to go for my fastest laps of the race and really take some chunks out of the time of the car that was ahead of me. Felipe Giro into turn one this time. It's quite comfortable through there, but on his medium tyres that have done a fair few laps and I've got another 6 laps to do, yeah, potentially struggling a little bit. And again, I'm in DRS range, but not a position where, or not close enough. I mean, I did back off, but I didn't want to put him in a position where he felt like I was going to attack him. Excuse me. I mean, okay, fair enough. I could have just caught him up, gone for an overtake, and tried to pull away. But it's one of those situations where if I'd have got it wrong, that would not have gone down well with the team. So much better to sit back, let him get on with his race, and see how he gets on. I mean, I can see from here he's struggling, and the last thing he needs is to basically me harassing him. So sort of staying about a second and a half behind him, hopefully close enough for a slipstream, but not close enough for dirty air. I mean, lap times here, okay, I think it was on 1:19, no, well, it might have been a 19, difficult for me to tell, but still, lap times compromised massively here. I mean, I had quite a bit of fuel that I was wanting to use up as well at this point. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. Again, I'm in DRS range, and I do use the DRS, but I don't use my boost. Back off way early there, so that he knows I'm not going for him. But at this point, I think Felipe realises he's holding me up, so he pulls out of the way, and I can only say a huge thank you to him on that one. He took it into his own hands there. He saw that I was just following him, showing him the respect, and he showed the respect back by saying, look, if you're a back marker and you're faster than me, I'm going to let you go. And I'm glad that he did, because it did give me the opportunity to try and really pump in some laps. So that's pretty much exactly what I try and do. If I remember rightly, I mean, well, quick look at you, Miles way behind me. Juan Sanchez, that's how far away he is. He's in the DRS zone of the straight, and I'm just coming up to start the lap. So that's how much time, not necessarily I lost, because Juan Sanchez hadn't pitted, but I did lose a fair amount of time behind Felipe there. 2 or 3 laps where I was potentially going a second or two slower than I would have wanted to go. I mean, the way I looked at it was, I was catching Juan Sanchez about a second a lap. Put the brand new options on, I'm going to catch him 2 seconds a lap. 10 laps, that's 20 seconds. There's a good chance of really catching him and attacking him there. But this particular lap I'm on now, I believe was or is my fastest lap. Yes, it was. So as soon as Felipe did set me free, I was able to go and pump in my fastest lap of the race. But to be fair, because I'd saved a little bit of boost behind him, remember rightly, I was able to boost for the majority of the lap. But from this point on, with 4 laps to go, I realised catching the car ahead is not possible. But that was my fastest lap of the race, a 19.3. Yep, 19.342. So, yeah, I realise at this point I'm definitely not going to be able to catch up to 9th place. A quick flick around the dodgy camera angles here, but for good reason. Because here we've got 2nd and 3rd place, Jordi Lopez and Christopher Raby, battling between themselves for the podium position here, and behind them is me. And I'm catching them, similarly to how I did with Felipe Giro. So at this point of the race, okay, I'm a lap down, but on the option tyres, I'm faster than sort of 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the race on their worn prime tyre, which means nothing really, but it's something to try and boost your own confidence with. But I do remember rightly, there was another reason for me watching Christopher Raby and Jordi Lopez. I can't remember exactly what it was, so I'm fairly sure we will see. Although having a look actually now at Benoit Daubert, and I've got a feeling that something may happen to him here as he passes a back marker. I'm just checking my notes. I didn't actually write anything down. No, I'm just looking at where 8th and 9th are. So I think 8th and 9th, yeah, they're ahead of 2nd, 3rd and 4th. So the gap between them and myself, it is quite big. It's not a gap I'm definitely not going to be able to close up on now. But I am catching up more to Christopher Raby now. I mean, even though there's only 3 laps left of the race, I'm still not going to slow down. If I've got a bit of track there, I'm going to push it. I'm going to push it hard as long as I don't go and bin it. And at the end of the day, in FSR, you've basically got to show what you can do at every possible opportunity. And one of the things that I would say I'd never do is give up, really. But Juan Sanchez crossing the line now in 9th place. And there's the gap when I'm just coming into the stadium section. So it is still about 20 seconds. And if I do remember rightly, on the last lap I do take it a little more cautiously than the other laps and back it off a little bit. But one of the things that I actually forgot was that because I am a lap down, I could have gone more aggressive with boost. I could have gone for a few more faster laps because I would have one lap less to do over the course of the race because I've been lapped. But I kind of forgot about that. So I could have gone for another fastest lap for myself. But Benoit Daubert, oh, that looks like a retirement. That is Benoit Daubert out of the race. So although I wasn't able to catch him on track, all I need to do is go past the pit lane, and that's an extra position for myself. I mean, it's already showing me in 9th place, so I'm happy with that one. I said earlier on, if I could get back into the top 10, I'd be very happy, and get back into the top 10 is exactly what I've been able to do. And with Daubert unfortunately being out of the race, it means 9th place for myself. But now I am really closing in on 2nd and 3rd place, or at least on 3rd place. It looks like Christopher Raby has dropped off the back of Jordi Lopez a little bit here. However, on my soft tyres, I'm still pushing. I can see that Christopher Raby's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him here. And I'm so much quicker on the brake. And Raby's spun it! I don't know if that was all on his own or tyre wear, but car getting out of the way for a blue flag, probably for Christopher and also for myself as well. So I've not gained an extra position there. But unfortunate for Christopher Raby there. But that, if I remember right, is one of the reasons why I wanted to switch the strategy and go for the 3-stop. I didn't want to risk the medium tyres being absolutely worn out and losing a potential position in the last handful of laps. I mean, I do know that all the way to the end of the race I was catching up to what was 8th and 9th place, but this now is the end of the race, which at the time I'm thinking, why is he pulled over? What's he pulled over for? And then it occurred to me, I'm a lap down. The race is finished. It's over. Okay, 9th place it is then. From an event which may appear to have been quite unexciting and a little bit dull, but I can tell you it was anything far from that on the day. Very intense race, very tricky race as well. But that collision early on cost me cost me 10 places and caused me to spend the rest of the race recovering. The pit lane incident, I mean, really, there should be no cars sharing a pit box, or at least if you are, it should be with your teammate, but there is no sharing of pit boxes, so when it happens, it is absolutely infuriating, because there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It's just time lost. But there we go, that's Hockenheim. It's a 9th place finish for me, so overall very pleased with the result. Just left with a sense of what could have been, what really could have been, and hopefully Turkey will be a little bit better. Now if I can get the Turkey video together in the next week or two, I will. Oh, looks like someone's had a bit of a crash there. But yeah, I will try and get the Turkey video put together but also Spa is coming live very, very soon on the Formula Sim Racing channel. But I'll end with thank you very much for watching. I've been Dave Palin, and you're more than welcome to join me again soon.